Hello tankers, this is NK33. I apologize for the long delay between videos. The software that I use and some of the websites that I use ran into some problems, and some problems getting replacements to work. In this case, I'm using Tanks GG, which is similar to the Watt Inspector that I once used, so I can start doing some more analysis. Now, this first video is based on the tanks that cause you the most trouble at low to mid tiers, tier 4, tier 3. The first is the KV-1. Now the KV-1 is Russian tier 5 heavy, and it's one of the first tanks that you're going to run into, which is a proper World War II or through all World War II tank. It was in operation in 1941, and it was phased out in 43 when the Tiger and the Panther became very common, but it was still able to cause a great deal of trouble. Now, it comes with basically 3 guns, or I should say with the top turret. It has 4 guns. The best gun is the 85, and you can tell the 85 by the long barrel. It also has 120 millimeter, which is a short, barreled howitzer. 57 is a very long, thin gun, very good armor penetration, and the stock gun is a 76, which is shorter. But we're going to leave it with the 85. Now, the big problem that you're going to run into with the KV is the armor. This is 75 millimeters of armor, sloped, so its effective armor is 82. This is 75 millimeters of armor, sloped, so it's effectively 86. The turret, the side, should be weaker. It's 111 millimeters of armor. You're not going to be able to get through the turret. And side armor is also 75, depending on the angle. The tracks are an additional 20 points of spaced armor, so if you shoot it in the tracks, you're facing, in effect, 95 millimeters of armor. Even the back is not too vulnerable. 53 millimeters of armor, and 70 to 76, depending on the angle. So, if you're facing a KV frontally, where you want to aim is the upper glacis. As you can see, that, even though it's fairly heavily sloped, it's only 40 millimeters of armor, which will allow you to get through it because it's only the equivalent of 64. Now, if you're shooting up at it, forget it, because it's so strongly sloped, it'll give you 70 degrees is an auto bounce. As you can see, where it shows pre-normalization 70 degrees results ricochet, and you go down a little, and 68, you'll go through it. Of course, if you can get above it and shoot down, that's even better. The armor is only 40 millimeters. In fact, if you can get above it and shoot down, most of the armor on the KV is only about 40 millimeters, and you can shoot through the top. Forget shooting through the turret. The mantlet is a tremendous amount of armor. These cheeks on the sides, let's switch to the hybrid. These cheeks on the sides are 127, which means you're not going to get through, and these areas are not weak points. Don't be confused by all of these on the upper front plate. They aren't weak spots. So what you can do, however, is you can fire at the tracks. Now that won't, you see where it says no damage. Well, you can damage the track, and you can hold it in position for somebody else to shoot it. And that's what you're probably going to have to do. Or, the side isn't that much weaker, but it's flat, so you've only got 75 millimeters that you need to go through if you shoot it on the side. The other tank, which is similar to this, is the KV2, or KV1S, sorry. You shouldn't be seeing KV2s at this level. Now this one is very different. It's more lightly armored, so the lower glacis is a good target. The upper glacis, forget it. I mean, that's a ricochet, but it's 50 millimeters of armor instead of 40. This is the same 75. The turret's not quite as tough, but you're not going to get through it. How you tell a KV1S from a KV is you look at this little cupola, and that's on both of the turrets. It's more pronounced on the advanced turret, but the KV1 doesn't have them. Neither version. So, if it's got a cupola, it's a KV1S, in which case you probably want to shoot at the lower glacis. If it's a KV1 without the cupola, shoot at the upper glacis. KV1S also has 76 millimeter gun. The 85, although it's not as capable as the KV1's 85, and 121 millimeter. This is another function of the tank's GG. You can select a tank and then compare it to other tanks, and you can set basically how the tank is configured. You can also set any special tools that you want on it, like vents or a gun rammer, etc. So you can do a lot more comparison of configurations than you can in Tank Compare, or that you could do in Watt Inspector. Now in this particular case, I have the 3 KVs with the 85, the 57, and the 122 millimeter, and I've got the KV1S with the 85 and the 120. Now, as you can see, the DPM goes up with the other choices. Your 57 gives you a better DPM, and the 120 millimeter howitzer gives you an even better one, but you're starting to trade penetration. This is firing primarily HE, so it's got very poor penetration. KV1S has, on its 85, is slightly weaker than the 85 on the KV1. Its howitzer is exactly the same. And you'll notice that its howitzer has slightly less DPM than the KV1 because it takes just a little longer to reload. Although the 85 seem to be precisely the same, except slightly weaker penetration. Weapon handling for both is similar. The 85, the 122, and the 57. Big problem you're going to run into is the 85. You lose a lot of gun depression on the KV1S, and the KV1S's depression isn't that much better, or is actually much worse than the KV1's. Now, the other tank which will give you fits in low tiers is the British Tier 4 Matilda. This thing is armored almost as well as the KV1. 75 millimeters in the front. The mantlet is, depending on where you're shooting it, anywhere between 120 and 75 millimeters. The tread are the same. That's 20, that's 10. So if you're in front of it and you need to shoot something to have any effect, aim at the tracks. There's also, if you look very carefully, this is 55 millimeters of armor, but it's highly sloped. If you shoot in here, you'll notice that even though it's sloped, it's only about 40 millimeters of armor. So that's your weak point when shooting at the front of one of these things. Now if you've got the side, forget shooting at the turret. You're talking 75 to 80 millimeters of armor. Gets up to 90 as you get the sloping. The side armor here, forget it. You're looking at 74 millimeters of armor. And here you've got 75 millimeters of armor also, but it's in multiple sections. 2 types of spaced armor and then 40 millimeters. But these louvers, go over to hybrid, take a look at that. 56 millimeters of armor. That's where you shoot the Matilda. You don't try and shoot the sides. You don't shoot the track. You don't shoot it in the turret. These open vents, these mud hole vents, are where you shoot it. The armor is a lot less. You go 80 millimeters of armor between them, goes down to 55. 75 millimeters of armor. Even the back of the Matilda is pretty durable, 64 millimeters. Now that one's 35. That one's also fairly sloped. So if you can shoot down into the tail of it, you want to shoot down into the engine deck. Shooting in here. And of course the tracks are an option behind. But in a reverse of the front, you want to shoot the center. You don't want to shoot these areas. The armor is a lot better. So the 2 places you want to shoot the Matilda is if you've got it front on, you want to shoot it close to the tracks, but not straight on them. Got that small area here. And if you got it from the side, you want to shoot into these louvers. And I've got some gameplay I can show you of me taking on both of these tanks. Now here I am on Swamp, and ironically I'm in a Matilda. So I'll be taking on KV1. Let's speed up.
Let's get this show on the road.
Because the Matilda is rather slow. Okay, bring it back down to normal speed and just trying to get some shots. Okay. Now, just spotted a KV-1, and it's on that ridge, and hopefully I'll be able to get some shots at it. Trying to get a shot at the medium, and he doesn't poke out, so get in position. Nope. Well, there he is.
We didn't even scratch them.
I'm not taking my own advice here. I'm firing at the turret.
One of our tracks is damaged.
So back off, reconsider. No effect on the turret.
That one didn't go through.
No effect on the side. But now I'm going to get, if I move forward, I'll get a much flatter shot.
We didn't penetrate their armor. Enemy armor is hit.
Okay. So that's how you take on a KV. Now, initially, let's see if I can set this up for how he was. That'll do it. I was bouncing off his turret, but later I was able to put some shots through this armor here, above the road wheels, and I was able to do a fair amount of damage to him. And that's without using any premium ammunition. The gun on the Matilda has excellent penetration. I mean, as you can see, 121 millimeters of penetration. So technically, I could have gone through the side on it, but many of the guns that you're going to be firing, if you're facing a KV-1 and you've got a Tier 3 or a Tier 4, are not going to have that kind of penetration. They may also not have the kind of accuracy. I mean, I was shooting at a very small target, and the accuracy of the Matilda served me very well. Now let's take a look at me engaging a Matilda. Firing through the louvers. Now in that one, I will admit, I had to load some premium ammunition. Now here I am on airfield, and this is the Type 95. It's not a terribly good tank. It's Tier 4. Let's speed up the replay a bit.
Let's get this show on the road.
Just got up to the hill. Now, I already know that there's a Matilda. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to take a couple of shots at the Valentine or that LTP. Clear things a bit, but he's not going to come out.
Our fuel's hit. We've lost half our gas.
That Grant shot me. Now in this case I am loading premium. You can see I've got the premium because the premium has 100 penetration. My standard only has 70. Now technically that will go through what I just showed you, but it's iffy. So that's part of what you're going to have to do. Carry a few premium shells for situations like this.
One of our tracks is damaged.
And I'm aiming at the louvers.
We're immobilized. Penetration. Enemy vehicle destroyed. Get going. Enemy armor is hit. Got him.
Well, let's go back a little. Okay. Now I know the Matilda's there. Matilda's not paying any attention, so I pull back and switch to premium rounds. I've only got 5 of them, so I got to make these shots count.
That one bounced.
Focus in on the louvers, those vents.
One of our tracks is
Let it aim. Let it aim.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Went through.
We've lost a turret.
Let it aim.
Penetration.
He's not damaging me, so I can just trade shots with him.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
And he's gone. So, I hope that helps. Hope that you got some ideas about how to take on these two seemingly invincible monsters, at least for low tiers. They're seemingly invincible. The two answers are, look for the weak spots, and the only weak spot really on the KV-1 from the front is the front plate, and the side, because it's flat, is you're more likely to go through it. The KV-1S, it's the lower front plate, not the upper front plate, and again, you've got the sides, don't shoot into the tracks, but shoot above them. Will give you an advantage. And the Matilda, you've got these two areas where it's only about 60 millimeters of armor, and of course, shoot the vents. Shoot these mud chutes in the side. They're a lot less heavily armored. The other thing that you probably need to start thinking about is carrying a few rounds of premium ammunition. Now, the premium ammunition is very expensive, so don't waste it. But if your choice is penetrating the tank or not penetrating the tank, you're probably going to be better off taking a shot with premium ammunition than you will without any. Well, this is NK33, and good luck, and I'll see you on the battlefield.